Tangal greetings, my name is Jose Paul Aparece and I'm presenting the first is the session start method. This allows the script to store and remember data across multiple page loads like a temporary memory for the user. First is the class course, which is a blueprint for creating course object. Then we have a private properties, means only the class itself can directly access these variables. Then for the construct function, a special function that runs automatically the moment a course object is created, and it accepts a name and fee as inputs. Then this course is equals course name, and this course fee is equal to course fee. It assigns the values passed into the constructor to the object's own property. So this refers to the current object being created. So for the get course name, a public function that allows outside code to read the course name without directly touching the private variable. So same idea in get course fee. So next is the set course name. It allows outside code to update the course name in controlled way, which is same in set course fee. So next, the class student, it basically it is a blueprint for the student object. So we have two private properties, which is the student name and student ID number. So for the construct function, when a student object is created, it immediately stores the provided name and ID into the object's own properties. So we have getters of get student name and get student ID. So it allows read access from the outside class. So next is the setter, set student name and set student ID. It allows the name and ID to be updated. So next is the class enrollment, the class that connects a student to a course. So and also we have two private properties. So instead of storing simple text or number, this stores entire object, a student object and a course object. So for the construct function, when an enrollment is created, it receives a student and a course object and stores both effectively, linking them together. So we have get student and get course. It allows outside code to retrieve the student of course associated with this enrollment. So also we have setters for set student and set course. It allows the student or course in an enrollment to be replaced or updated. So for the session storage initialization, if not is set sessions enrollments, it checks whether an enrollment key already exists in the session. So if the key doesn't exist yet, it creates it and sets it to an empty array, an empty list ready to hold enrollment records. So this is only runs once on every reload. After that, the existing data is preserved. So that's all. Thank you.
Good morning, sir. Tangal greetings. My name is Mark Christian Asamador, and I'm about to explain the form action handler. First, the action needs to be submitted to the action is set there. The program looks at the incoming form data. If there's a field name action, the program takes its value like add, update, or delete. And then it puts it into a variable action. If no action field was sent, the action becomes an empty string. This is needed so the program knows what the user wants to do next. Then next is the if action add. If action equals to add, the program enters these blocks. It reads the four form fields, the student name, the student ID, the course name, and then the course fee. And then it stores them into these simple variables, and then creates the student object using the name ID. Then it creates the course object using the course name and fee, and then it combines them into an enrollment object which links the student to that course. Then finally, it appends that new enrollment to the session array. The session enrollment, the the uh, that square open parenthesis, it means add at the end. This saves the enrollment for the future page loads. Next, the else if action is equals to update, the program knows it must change an existing record. It first reads the hidden field index from the form, which tells the array position like 0, 1, 2, 3, or type does those index to update. And then it reads the update student name ID, course, and then name, the course name, and fee from the form. It creates a brand new student object and brand new course object which with those updated values. Then it goes to the session array position, the index, then find an existing enrollment object and replaces its student with the new student object using the set student, as you can see there. Then it does the same for the course using the set course, and then the all data is now overwritten. Then the delete enrollment. If the action is delete, the program removes an enrollment. It reads the index from the form to know which record to delete. It calls array splice on the session array, and then starting at the index at that index that called and removing exactly one item after this. That enrollment is gone, and later the record shift forward, as you can see in that code. Then next is the loading the form for editing. This part runs after the add, update, and delete logic. It does not depend on action. The program checks the URL's query string, yung get, to the parameter named edit. If it exists, the program stores that number in the edit index. Otherwise, edit index is equals to null, as you can see over there. And if if it sets the edit data to null as a starting value, the edit index is and if the edit index is not null, then there is an enrollment at that position in the session array. The program fetches that whole enrollment object and stores it to edit data. And then later in the HTML form, in the edit data is used to pre-fill the input field so the user can see and change the existing value. Okay, that's it for the form handling. Thank you.
Dagang greetings po, sir. Today I will explain the part on the form, and this code is used to create a form for managing student enrollments. And basically, this form can do two things, and it can add a new enrollment or edit an existing one. And so instead of making two separate forms, we combine them into one, and which is more efficient. And now let's start. Um, um, in this code, displays a form with fields like student name, student ID, course name, and course fee. And and if the user is editing, the fields are already filled. And if the user is adding, the fields are empty. And so everything here is dynamic, and meaning it adjusts automatically. And now let's start through step by step the code. And first we have the title at the top, and in here the code checks if edit index is null. And if it's null, that means we are editing, and it will shows editing enrollment with the record number. And but if it's null, meaning we are adding, so it shows adding enrollment. This news something called ternary or operator, which is just a shortcut for if else. Next, we have the form in the form use the post method, and which means the data is sent securely, and then the action is set to index.php. So the same file will handle the data after submission. And after that, we have a hidden input field, and stores the action update if editing, and add if adding. So the system knows what to do when the form is submitted. Then there's another hidden input, but only if we are editing. If edit edit index exists, it will stores the index value. And this is important because will tells the system which record to update. And let's go to the input fields. First is the student name. The value of this field, it depends on whether we are editing or not. If we are editing, it gets the name from the existing data. And if we are adding, it will stays empty. And it use a method like get student to for accessing the student, and the get student name for getting the actual name. And the required attribute means the user must fill up here. Next is the student ID. Same idea. If editing, it shows the current number, current ID, and if adding, it's empty. And here it means get student ID to get the value. Uh, then we have the course name, and it will the same idea again. If editing, it will shows the existing course, and if adding, it's empty again. I mean blank. And it will use get course and get course name method. Next is the course fee. And this input type is a number, and so only numbers are allowed here. And if editing, it shows the current fee using get course fee method. And if adding, it will stays empty. Now for the submit button, the label changes depending on the situation. Update enrollment if the users is editing, and add enrollment if user adding. Again, this use the ternary operator. And lastly, we have the cancel button. This only appears when editing, and if the user clicks it, it goes back to the main page without saving any changes. And overall, This code creates a smart form that can both add and edit enrollments, and it changes the title, fills in data when needed, and controls behavior using simple conditions. So instead of repeating the code, everything is handled in one reusable form. And that's all for my explanation. Thank you.
Good morning, I am Julian Ribarina, and in this video I will be discussing the enrollment record table. So first dito in a if statement, we can see here is the count function which count how many items are in the enrollment session array, and if it equals to 0 or empty, the condition is returned to true. Then this code here right here shown instead of the table. If it's empty, then if the array has at least one enrollment, it runs this block here, as you can see, code instead. Then this code here creates the table and its header row with 6 column labels, which is, as you can see, the th or the table header cell. Then here we move to the for each. Here loops through every item in the session array, which is the index I. Ano? Index I as a number or 0, 1, 2, 3, then and enrollment is the enrollment object for that row. Paano ang enrollments? Yan. Then here the tr, which is the table row, here opens up a new table row for each enrollment, then echo here prints the row number in the first column. Then also here we call sa baba. Ayan. Then here we call the get student function on an enrollment to get the student object, then calls the get student name on that, so to get the name and print it. And also the student ID and the course name is same process as the student name. Then here last same change, but we call the get course fee and print the course fee amount. So now we move on here, the action column. This code right here is the edit, which points to index PHP, as you can see, which will pass the index in the URL so that the page knows which records to edit. And here next, we have the mini form for the delete button. So as you can see, this method is equals to post. So we use this as a to send the data securely instead the get. Then the display inline keeps it on the same line as the edit link instead of jumping or moving to a new line. Then now here we also have this hidden field which the user can see. So this code tells the server that what the action to perform when this form is submitted, which in this case is the delete. Then also we also have another hidden field which sends the row index to the server, so it shows which enrollment to delete based on an index. So then here you can see we have the delete button. So the delete button, upon click, it will pop up a dialog which will have the text that delete record and the, as you can see, the variable I as the index. And if the user clicks OK, the confirmation function will return true and the form will submit. And if they click cancel, it will return false and show and the form is stuck. Then here the two last is the, then here will marks the end of the for each loop from the above and goes back up and repeat the next enrollment until all row are printed. There you go. Then the final last is this PHP in if. Then the end of the end if and the if else blocks that check whether the enrollment array was empty. So that's all for this video. Thank you.
Dahil greetings, my name is Tomar and I will now demo our student enrollment system for our ITW2 Finals Lab Exercise 1. So first, as you can see, we have our input fields, also a notification showing us what is our current action. So for our current action, we are adding an enrollment, as you can see. So when we input here on our fields and click the add enrollment, it should the record should be saved on our enrollment records table. So let's start with our test case number one. We're going to add Anna with a student ID 101, course name of Java, and a course fee of 1,500. So the moment we hit add enrollment button, as you can see, it will be saved on our enrollment records table. So we have additional actions here like edit and delete. So when we click edit, it should show all of the um, all of the current information of Anna on our input fields. So by then we can now edit it. So as you can see, we have additional action like here you can see update enrollment button and the cancel button. So when we click cancel, it should delete all of our it should clear our form, and it will not update anything. So click cancel. So you can see it is now cleared. So for our test case number two, we can add Mark with a student ID of 102, course name of PHP, any course fee of 1,200. So let's click add enrollment. As you can see, Mark is now been saved on our enrollment record. So for test case number three, we're going to update the fee of Anna from 1,500 to 1,800. So let's click edit, go to our course fee field, make it 1,800, then click update enrollment. As you click the update enrollment and look for Anna on our enrollment records, you can see that the fee has now been updated to 1,800. Up next, for our test case number four, we're going to delete Mark from our enrollment records. So let's click delete. As you can see, we have an alert notifying us that confirming us if we want to actually delete record number one, which is Mark. So hit OK. And now on our enrollment records, we can see that Mark has now been removed. So that is all for our lab exercise 1 for our ITEW2 finals. Thank you.